Let's get to some housekeeping before we start. You filled in for Ellen DeGeneres. Now, Rob, would you ever take over? Because your podcast literally is incredible. You're such a good interviewer. You've got so many good stories. We need somebody like you in daytime. I'm being 100% serious when I ask you this. Would you ever do it?
If I weren't so busy, I mean, there was a moment in time where when I was between shows and Ellen was debating whether she was going to resign for a couple of years. We talked about it, and then she decided to re-up, and then I got 911 Lone Star, and I don't think that show's going anywhere. That's the great news. Lone Star is a beast, but in a vacuum, it might be really fun because you'll see I loved doing it. I loved it, and it would. But it's funny. Lorne Michaels has a great phrase he says about these big talk show gigs. He says, it's the last job you'll ever have. Which is
what does that mean? The kiss of death?
Meaning that that will be it. That's the good news and the bad news. Like you will work forever if it works. That's what it is. And so you have to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for success. If it's successful, that's what you're doing. I happen to love talking to people, so I could see that happening. But at the moment, there's no. I don't see how you could work it into my schedule. But it's a great. If you love it, it's a great thing to do.
Listen, you're so good. You could just take off Monday, Friday. Give us 3 days in the chair. I got a plan.
Okay, you be my agent. You go tell these people how to figure it out.
But I'm serious because on your podcast, literally, you're a very good interviewer.
Thank
and
you.
I think for a lot of people who haven't done it, it's harder than you think to really listen, as I think is the key. And was that always natural for you?
Well, I think it's the key to acting. The key to good acting, a lot of people think is this, a lot of people think is that. It's very simple. It's listening. Mm-hmm. That is the number one key to good acting. I like to think I've been listening for a long time, and you add that to being interested in people legitimately. Some people aren't. Some people are. By the way, there are talk show people who aren't interested in people, and it shows. But it comes naturally to me. It's why I love doing literally my podcast. And I'm so excited when I get someone famous who, by the way, has been interviewed their whole careers. I'm excited because I'm not going to talk to them the way everybody else does.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, here's a perfect example. I had Oprah on 2 podcasts ago. Now listen, this is what would get me fired if I had a real job interviewing. I didn't ask her once about Prince Harry or Meghan Markle. Not once. You know why? Anybody can ask her that.
Yeah.
I want to ask her the stuff that nobody's gonna ask her. And I think that's why literally has worked so well, because it's not what you expect.
What did Oprah say? What did you get that I need to know about?
Well, what was really interesting was, and you never know where the conversation is going to go. And this is what's great about long form interviews. Yeah. And I really want to go with the flow, and I come into them with no agenda. And we started talking about trauma, and it was a very, very emotional, very, very deep conversation about intergenerational trauma and what one can do to stop that. I mean, she's written a book about this that she's promoting. So that was the genesis of it, but it got really, really real. And that's what that interview with Oprah wanted to be. I wasn't forcing it into something else. I have Andrew McCarthy on this week.
Okay. And kind of freaking out. I mean, you guys are my gig, right? I mean, I'm 50. You guys are my guys. So the thought of you two together, what was discussed? Anything with the Brat Pack coming back?
I mean, and that's what's great. First of all, I haven't talked to Andrew in 20 years, at least. And, every interview I do, people want to know about Brat Pack this, Brat Pack that. So now here it is. It's me and Andrew talking about, do you remember the time? And how about this? And am I crazy?
Like your book.
That happen? And it was awesome. And it was so great. And it was so great to reconnect with him and to, we lived it.
Yeah.
We lived that Brat Pack era. And so that's a totally different experience. Listening to that podcast, very different than the Oprah podcast, which is very different than the Chris Pratt podcast, and on and on. And they're all, what I love about podcasts is you go to Apple or Spotify or wherever you go to get your podcast, and they're all right there. And it's a menu, which is really cool. You make, oh, I'm interested in that. I don't want that. I do want that. It's just a great world.
Did Andrew, any little nugget you can just give me, some funny story that hasn't really been talked about with the two of you back in the day? Because think about, with no social media, like you have so much stuff that's still private, which is so fabulous.
I know. Well, it's so funny. We had so much to talk about. I mean, well, I didn't know that he lived, after we did class together, I didn't know that he lived with Jacqueline Bisset at her house with Alexander Godunov. And I'm thinking, look, Godunov's a stud. He was a stud. For those of you who don't remember, he was a Russian defector, Adonis ballet dancer.
That alone, just let that sit.
Russian defector, Adonis ballet dancer. I mean, what? Come on. And he lets this young 19-year-old come live with, I don't know what the hell. So I was doing a deep dive. I needed to know what the living hell was going on with that threesome.
Oh, I love it. Well, not only are you a great interviewer, and I love, literally, it's just sensational. We could do a deep dive on that. Season 2 of Middle Samurai. I remember when you first came on our show, when you were launching it. What's the key to being a good game show host? Because that's a little trickier.
It is. And it's, it's a skill set that is very, 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 very specific. And I wanted to see if I had it. That's why I did this. I mean, I never aspired to be a game show host, but what I aspire to is learning new skill sets and challenging myself and having fun. And I got to tell you, watching these people up close, it strapped into this multi-million-dollar NASA machine.
It's the coolest.
Being put through G-forces while facing down a clock to answer trivia and questions is so exciting, because this money changes their lives.
Yeah.
It's real money. And this year, the contestants are going mano a mano. So you're not only competing against the course, you're competing against the person who just went through the course. So it's added a whole other level to season 2 that I think raises the stakes for everybody. It's way fun to watch. And
hearing their personal stories. If they ever don't win, do you ever feel like hitting them with a few bucks? Like, I always just feel so bad if they don't win.
I know. I know. Well, this year now, we've changed the rules, so almost everybody comes away with something.
I like that.
Unless of course they totally flame out.
Yeah.
Because we year one, you'd be like, I'm sorry, thanks for playing, and we'd be like, I feel bad for that person. So we've made it. We've given them a device where almost everybody has gotten something so far. But it's a long season. We'll see where it goes. Do you feel smarter hosting this show? Because I feel like you're a wealth of knowledge in there. So it's amazing to me. My favorite parts of the show is when people don't get, as painful as it is for them, when they don't get something that is obvious to all of America. It makes me laugh. It's so uncomfortable and so funny. When somebody says, name that classic, iconic 1990s young ensemble sitcom, and they say everything but Friends, I die. I die. And they're under so much pressure. And then you put the machine, the whole thing is so great. Yeah.